Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to now be doing the oil change on this BMW N52 engine. Now this does apply and it's exactly the same for the N53, N54 and the N55 engines and most BMW engines to say the least. But today we're going to be making a significant change on this car. Many of you are used to me using a specific oil for this engine, which is the Shell 5W40. But unfortunately, I couldn't source the Shell 5W40 and why is that? The prices have gone sky high for it because obviously where I use it a lot, many people are buying it constantly for their N52s, which has put the price up. Now, when I used to buy it, it was never as expensive as it is today. So I've changed my supply on who I'm going to use because 5W40, regardless of what brand it is, needs to go in this N52 engine. So today I'm going to be using Mobile One. Now the reason I opted for Mobile One is purely because I use that on my Porsche and I know it's brilliant oil and that's what Porsche recommends as well. So therefore I'm going to be using it on the N52 engine. And guys, it's not much more expensive than the Shell 5W40. When I looked up the Shell 5W40, that was £30. The Mobile One 5W40 fully synthetic was £35. And that goes to show you it wasn't much difference in price and that's one of the reasons why I bought it. So let's get onto this video and we're going to start doing the oil change on this N52 as this is the last thing I have to do on the engine mechanically before moving onto all the other bits of the car. So let's get onto this video.
Goddamn, get it done, will ya? Woo. When I blow up now, everybody's so unusual with it. Shit. But said times in his rhymes cause his memories. We running through New York so you know.
So as you can see here, I'm going to use an oil filter wrench to remove these, along with my ratchet, and I'm just going to remove the oil filter housing. So you just want to turn it just like that. And I have unloosened it just a bit beforehand, but that's what you want to use to actually remove the oil filter cap. And I'll link these in the video as well if you guys need to go and purchase them. And what we're just going to do is I'm just going to unloosen it enough, just to let the oil drain back down to the sump before we drain it. So we'll just do that. We'll just do that right there. So we'll leave it up like that. This is the oil filter we're going to be using today, which is the P9269, which is the correct oil filter for these N52 engines. These work on the N55 as well. N53, it all works on the same as for the N54. It's all the same oil filter for these. Any with this kind of oil cooler system, it will use this oil filter. I have a load of these as spare because I'm always doing these engines. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is get the car up in the air, and then I'm going to drain the oil from the sump. I'm going to have to put my drainer underneath so it can drain all the oil. Now do bear in mind, because this engine's cold, probably the oil ain't going to be thin enough to break it down to get most of it out, which we'll probably have to do another flush later on the car. That's because I can't start it up yet, because obviously it's not ready to start it up. Obviously there's a few other things we need to do yet. So I'm just going to drain it now because I want to get this oil done and get this oil out of here because it hasn't been changed for a long time since my friend's had it. He can't remember when he last had it changed either. So I'm going to get it out and put the new oil in. Okay guys, so as you can see here, this is the drain plug we're going to be removing to let the oil drain out. You can see it's right there. I'm just going to put my spanner on it and unloosen it, and then I'm going to put the drainer underneath and just unloosen so all the oil can come out straight into the drainer. If you can see there, I'm just now unloosening the drain plug. We're just going to unloosen that. Don't unscrew it by hand. Then what we're going to do now is we're going to put our drainer underneath and let the oil come down. So you can see here now, I've got the drainer in place. I'm just going to pull the sump plug, and you want to catch the collar as well, which is like a copper washer for the sump plug, which usually stays on. You can see there on my hand, it stayed on it. So that's okay, even though we've got a new one. And you can see there, the oil is now draining into my drainer. What I'm going to do is put this drain plug right here, and we'll just leave that to drain. You can see how black the oil is, very, very black. I don't know when it was changed last. And this is why I said I'm going to use this oil when I have to flush this again, because I'm not happy with how black that is. Bearing in mind this car's got full history, you would have thought my friend would have done more regular oil changes, but it is what it is. I mean, it's with me now, so I'll give it everything it needs. So we'll just leave that drain and we'll come back on the video once it's finished. So you can see there, guys, it's still emptying out all the old oil. And as you can see, it's coming in as a thin stream now. It's dumped the majority of it, but we're just waiting for it to actually completely finish up. And it's just so much easier having a lift, knowing I can just drain the oil with the drainer, knowing it ain't going over my floor, no nothing. You can see that we're just waiting for it to finish up. It's taking its time. Should be done in a minute, hopefully, and we can go up to the oil filter and change that. I'm dreading the state of that, and I'm hoping it's going to have the little known part that we all know is needed, because if it doesn't have that part, it means I'm gonna have to order an oil filler cap, because otherwise it will end up throwing Vanos codes. But I still think it will have it, because my friend hasn't had many issues with this car, so I do believe it will have it. And most garages here ain't stupid enough to throw something like that away, I hope. Okay guys, as you can see there now, it's literally just dribbling down, so I'm just gonna give it a wipe and try and see if it stops, and then we'll put the sump plug back on. I have got the new crush ring to go on as well. I just took it out of the packet, because I'm not gonna be reusing the old one. So I'm just putting that on right now before we just pull it back into the sump. There we go, it's now back on. So now what we'll go ahead and do is just tighten it up, and we'll give it a clean up. Because as I said, I have cleaned all the sumps, so I don't want no oil leaks, where it all looks dirty and rubby. So we'll just clean up this area properly. Because you can probably see as well, all the sump is now nice and shiny where I've cleaned it. So now I'm just gonna tighten it up. Just move our drainer. And there we go. That's all tight and that's all done. Okay, so now what we're gonna go ahead and do is remove the oil filter. So I'm just gonna take it out, now the oil's drained, and you can see there isn't much left to it. I'm just gonna use tissue to capture it, just like that, and take this off, filter off. And I'm just gonna put that in my oil drainer for now, just so it's out of our way. And if you can see, the Vanos piece is right there, the filter. Now what I'm gonna do is change all the O-rings. I know many people don't replace these, but that's if you know the car. Where this car has always been serviced by a garage, I know garages and they never replace these O-rings. The one here and the one around the cap. So that's why I'm gonna be replacing it, because I know 100% garages don't bother with that, because that is all long to them and they're not gonna charge £45 for a service and think you're gonna do all that. So we're gonna take them off and I'm gonna put the new ones on. I'm just gonna take them off with a pick, just like that. This one can be a bit fiddly to get off because it's very tiny, and you can see how tight it is. But it does come off, and we'll just stick the new one on, just like that. Just have to really squeeze it on, but it does come on. Now we'll take the lid one off, which is that one right there. And we'll put the new one of that on as well. So I've now got that, and that's the cap one. So we'll just pull it over the lid, just like that. And do make sure you lubricate this beforehand, because if you don't, it won't seal properly on the oil filter housing. So now we've got our new oil filter as well. We're gonna be putting that on, so it does go that way up, with the writing up that way. Just plug it in like that. Then we'll just stick this in. This will lubricate the O-ring with the oil in here, and we'll lubricate that as well, that O-ring. You wanna lubricate all the O-rings, and just be careful you don't get oil everywhere. And then once you've located it, there you go, you just screw straight in. You will have to press it down a bit because obviously it's got the new O-ring. So we're just gonna go this way and tighten it now. And that's the oil filter cap tightened down. Just give this a wipe up. A clean here. So all the oil's off. That's all tightened down. Wipe up all the lid. Wipe everywhere of any kind of oil stains. And that's done. That's the oil filter done. Now we're gonna put in the oil. Okay guys, to fill up the oil, it's very simple. We're gonna remove the cap, put our funnel in, then we're gonna top it up with the oil. We're gonna start with the 1 litre one that I got first. And if you can see there, it's Mobile Super 5W30 40, fully synthetic. We'll just pour this in. And this engine does take, I believe, if I remember correctly, 6.5 litres to fill. So we might just be short by ½ a litre, but if that's the case, I've got other oil. I've got Shell one I can put in. So now we've got my 5 litre one, which is the same exact oil. We'll just pour that in. And you guys saw how dirty the oil was. But this car was being serviced before my friend owned it by the lady that owned it all the time. So the engine underneath is literally immaculate. It's like you could eat off it. It's that clean underneath, which I'm really surprised because as I said, not even my other Black E60 is that clean underneath when I took the valve cover off, but this one is really, really clean. And I don't know if that's because obviously it's under less strain, because it's not an automatic gearbox, it's a manual, I don't know, but this engine is very, very clean and it's always been serviced all its life. And that's why I'm doing it. And like I said, I'm probably gonna end up flushing this at some point and doing it again because I'm not happy with the state of that oil. And like I always say, oil is cheap, engines are not, so it's better for me just to flush it. I've got another filter there, flush it again and get all the crap out. And that's our whole 6 litres in here that we're putting in. So we put the 6 litres of oil in there. And now that's done. So now we've got 6 litres in there. As I said, when I finally do start up the car, if it's low, I will do that. But at the present time, I'm not starting it, so I don't have to worry. We will check when we actually start the car up for the first time, which again, I will record so you guys get to hear it after all this work we've done. We'll start it up, but we still have so much to do. We are way off starting this car up. We've still got so much to do in interior and elsewhere on the car that we're just not finished yet with this car. It needs so much work. And when we're finished, as I said, we'll start it up, hear it run, finally. And that is how you change the oil on a BMW N52 engine. Okay guys, so as you've seen there, I've now replaced the oil on the BMW N52 engine. As you saw, the oil was very, very black. Now I don't know when the last time my friend had the oil actually changed. And as I said, he wasn't really good with getting things stamped or getting receipts or things like that. He would just get somebody to do it, whether it be mobile or garage, and never worry about the receipts. He would just have it changed. I don't know when it was, but that oil was very, very black. And I'm glad I actually changed it. As I said, oil is cheap, engines are not. And I will be flushing this engine again with another oil because, as I said, I wasn't happy with that black oil that actually come out of the engine. Bearing in mind, this car's had a full history, and to maintain the life of these engines, especially with the Valvetronic system and the camshafts and your Vanos system, oil is critical for these engines. So therefore I will be changing it again, probably in about 2,000, 3,000 miles after I use this oil to actually flush it. And I'll change the filter again, and let's see what else we get out of this engine. But I hope many of you have actually enjoyed this video, and I hope this is going to teach you how to change the oil on your BMW N52 engine. Thank you very much for watching, guys. It's BMW Dr. Dean here, and goodbye.